major challenges. And we think that this is one conference that must really, once more, give strong expression in dealing with those economic issues.
Yes, and also I think when one looks at this conference in terms of grappling with issues, now we know there are internal issues in the country, but there have been many external issues that have impacted on some of the issues that you are speaking about with regard to the economy. We've come out of the COVID era, which has been a difficult time, not only for South Africa, but for the entire world. We've had economic meltdowns. We know what is happening with Russia and Ukraine. That has impacted in a large way as well. And then obviously we've got the huge albatross that is hanging around our neck in terms of ESCOM. So there are a number of factors, and it's not easy to deal with, even if you are the ANC, even if you are the ruling and the governing party.
Indeed, it's not easy. We call ourselves revolutionaries. Our belief is that any revolutionary must deal with tough questions, tough challenges that people face. In other words, we have to provide solutions to tough questions that we have, and these are some of the tough issues that we have to deal with. We are quite encouraged by the fact that the ANC remains determined. We remain determined to ensure that the issue like water, electricity, even our roads, have got to be dealt with. And critical to that is the fact that we need a leadership collective that has foresight, that can be able to direct the country. Yeah.
Yes, and when you speak about leadership collective, and we know the last few weeks has been about one man. It's been about the president of the country, the whole Pala Pala issue that was actually playing out, and we know what had taken place in Parliament as far as the vote is concerned. But at the end of the day, it is important for an organization like the ANC to rally behind someone, and also at the same time to make sure that there are no cracks within the organization and the show of unity, even in terms of the policies that will be adopted at this Congress, and also when obviously looking at the leadership, the NEC, and those who are going to represent the organization and the country as a whole.
True. One of the foundations of the ANC is unity. Without unity, the ANC goes nowhere. That is why, from time to time, President Cyril Ramaphosa speaks to the issue of unity and renewal. So obviously, the gaps, the cracks that we have in the ANC are not a good sign. And one of the things that the NEC has done now, when the president was under attack, be it around Palapala and so on, one message was very clear, that this is the president of the ANC, and therefore we cannot subject him to attacks by the opposition. We know the opposition is disingenuous in many respects, and every little thing, every little mistake, they will magnify it as if it's an issue that requires that the president should go. That's why the parliamentarians stood firm to say the report, the process that was taken is a right process, but the report had a number of shortcomings, and the president is taking that process on review. That's why they said, in the light of that, in the light of the nature of the report, not the process, the nature of the report, that report should not be adopted. So we are rallying behind, the ANC is rallying behind the president, and we wanted to do so unapologetically and 100% with time. Of course, there were a few people who had a different view, but we are closing ranks in that regard.
Yes. Now, one of the things that I've seen, obviously, on the program lineup for the conference over the next few days, and one that stands out for me, is organizational renewal. And
Yes.
looking at the ANC in terms of where it is right now, and in terms of organizational renewal, what would be some of the key issues that you would be focusing on in terms of the organization, and where the gaps are, what needs to be renewed, what needs to be, I would say, sorted out, for want of a better term, so that the organization can actually move forward?
Look, in the context of renewal, obviously, we're looking in the next 10 years. We're creating the next 10 years, a vision for the next 10 years, in line with Vision 2030 of South Africa or the government. So we're looking into that. And then, but if you are to also renew the organization, you look at two levels. One level is a level where you deal with what I call the hardware, organizational hardware. The members must have quality members, the systems, the programs. We need to make sure that the hardware of the organization is in order. Right now, clearly, we have a problem with a system that made us to the accreditation here. That is why we had to lose a day. So we need to improve on that. It's a organizational hardware. And then on the other side, the software of the organization is very important because it speaks to the principles, the values, and ethos of the organization. We need ethical leadership. There is no doubt. Therefore, the fight against corruption cannot be compromised. We've got to talk to it. We've got to do something about corruption. So there was the Zondo Commission. Those things cannot be left to evaporate into thin air. So part of renewal is to make sure that all the malfeasance that are there in our ranks, we've got to undo them. But it is important also at the level of organizational software that we make sure that our members understand the principles and the values of this organization. Because part of the challenge where you find members misbehaving and not being able to tolerate one another is their lack of understanding what the ANC is about. And one of those things is unity.
Yes. In fact, early on at the press conference, we heard Pulimabi talk about the delegates that are also at this conference in terms of meeting criteria, and because there are some very important critical decisions that will be taken at this Congress. There will be policies that will be adopted. There will be voting that is taking place. So it's very, very important for the membership to fully understand, like you mentioned, the vision and also at the same time the value system of the organization.
True. If you remember, 6 months ago, we had a policy conference here, and we discussed number of policies there. So our delegates were really like excited, and they were on top of the game. And now, from that policy conference, we're coming here. In other words, most of the debates are going to continue, but the most important thing is for those policies to be adopted or ratified by the conference. So our delegates, majority of them are quite ready, and we want to believe that they will be able to rise to the occasion of discussing policy matters.
Yes, and I think also rising to the occasion as a united front, because
Yeah.
this is important. Because for a long time, all this talk about factionalism within the ANC, you think that is going to manifest yet? Because yesterday, obviously, we've seen outside of this conference, we've seen the likes of the military veterans, we've seen Ace Makashule, obviously, outside of this conference, and there was a lot that was obviously, and I think that when one looks at the media, there was a lot of focus on what was happening outside of the conference. Just going forward and making sure that all these matters are actually addressed and taken care of.
Look, the truth is, if a soccer match plays in the stadium and there are people outside the stadium doing whatever they are doing, their actions have no bearing on what is happening inside. So
Exactly.
now, but nevertheless, an organization like the ANC, you know, it's diverse, it is robust, there is rigor, and sometimes it goes to the extremes. So that is why when we talk about unity, we talk about principled unity, you know, a unity where there is a state of political readiness to advance our vision, to change lives of people. So President Ramaphosa always said, look, we are for unity, but it has to be a principled one. It has to be a unity that does not stifle progress of our people in our township, in the country. A unity that brings water to people, a unity that brings electricity to people, a unity that corrects all the roads throughout the country. That's the kind of unity that the ANC must have. But like you say, these our people are fatigued of these factional battles and so on. And we believe that this conference is a watershed. It will enable the ANC to overcome the challenge of factionalism.
Well, I know you've got a lot of hard work over the next few days, long
Yeah.
hours you will be pulling as well. And early on you were talking about your tired eyes as well.
Yeah,
Sibongile.
yeah.
But thank you very much, obviously, taking time out and being part and parcel of this broadcast here at Salam Media. We wish you all the best.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me.
Yes, Sibongile Besani with us this afternoon, right here live, and we've still got a lot more to come through, and a lot more that we will share with our listeners, our viewers on the various platforms of Salam Media this afternoon, live out of Nazareth.